Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Coffee Chat Live. We are live on YouTube, live on LinkedIn, live on Facebook, and live here in the Zoom. Today, I have the pleasure of bringing on a friend of mine who I have met through the channel. Never met in person though, not yet. But we're on a lot of different Slack groups and stuff together. Got to work a lot together. Matthew Fox from Valiant Technology.
Thank you. That was a very heartfelt welcome. I wasn't expecting that. I think we were talking about someone else. I'm just sitting here waiting, like, when's he going to say my name? Come on, let's do this.
Now, Matthew, so we're all about choices here. So I figured I'd give you some choices on how, you'd want the host today. I know you always have your signature beanies. I've heard that you have over 100 of them or 70 of them or something. So I'm going to give you the choice. Would you like the host of the show to be wearing a hat today or no hat?
I'd say no hat.
No hat. Okay.
I think we're just going to go unnatural today and just let it out. Oh, that feels good. Just let it down.
I should have curled my mustache too, except I don't have that much length.
That would have been a nice thing to do. I didn't actually plan on doing mine today. I kind of let it hang out now that I work at home so much, but I did get it a little waxed up for you guys because this is important. I love spending time talking with you guys, and especially you, Jimmy, and David, and everyone. It's good to see you. I haven't actually had a chance to talk with you guys in probably the past 6 or 8 weeks, so this is good, man. What are we talking? We're talking marketing. What are we going to do?
Yeah, well, so again, just, we're new streaming on LinkedIn, so I think we have some new audience members. So I'll just tell them this is a quick 15-minute discussion. It's the anti-webinar, our weekly Coffee Chat Live. So we do not prepare for it. Matthew is totally coming in blind.
That was perfect timing. Blind, the glasses went on, the whole deal. Sorry, keep going.
There you go. I was like, it's almost like, see, we don't need to plan anything. We've just got that. We're in sync there. So luckily, although I don't prepare anything, Jared always does, and he's like ultra prepared and has talk tracks in case we get derailed. So we can always lean on him on that. But before we get into it, I just want to congratulate David over here on his NBA championship win. I'm sure, it had things like not washing a certain pair of socks or, always like entering through the one side of the car door or something that you did clearly influenced the Milwaukee Bucks to win the NBA championship. So
the River Run vest has stayed on for the past 6 weeks. He hasn't taken that vest off once. That's what it is.
Unwashed, baby, and it smells of victory.
So Matthew, similar to me, you have a unique background in that you're in a marketing role, in a creative role, but you have that technical background, those technical skills. And we always get along because of that. We have that unique background, that bond. But could you just talk to us a little bit about like how you ended up a creative director for, this super cool MSP out of New York City?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, from an early age, both technology and art were a big part of my life. My mother, she switched careers not too long after having me because I was so difficult to deal with, but she was a fashion designer and she did work for Searle and Ralph Lauren and I forget the name of the clothing company for kids, but in the 1980s, whoever they were, they had the license from Marvel. So, I was always looking snazzy. I had like the Hulk shirts, the whole deal all the time. My father's a sculptor and I grew up in a house that was filled with sculptures that were, 20 feet wide and 10 feet tall and made of wood as a kid. So I was always exposed to that. But on the other side of the family, there was a lot of technical people. Like my cousin RJ was one of the developers who developed the navigational system for the satellite and the Cassini mission for NASA. And before he went off to college, his father gave me his old Tandy AT 1000. I mean, this is like an old, 4 megahertz. Maybe it went up to 8 if you hit the turbo button. Sorry, my gardener's outside. You might be hearing a little bit. We're keeping it real. And he's like, look, I'm giving this to you and you're going to do something good with it. And, I took that very seriously. And I've always had an interest in technology. I've gotten into a couple of trouble a couple of times around technology. Hey, that's how you learn security and whatnot, right? And then as I got a little bit older, I developed a health problem that kept me indoors a lot as a kid. I didn't go to the last year and a half of high school. I worked on a computer. I, still did everything I needed to do, took my AP exams, did really well. But it was a year and a half of learning like the Windows API and learning how to develop for Windows and kind of that sparked ideas. And I want to understand how the technology that worked underneath functioned. And that just continued on until I got to college. And ultimately I got a job at a nonprofit answering to the CIO. And within 2 years took over the department, rebuilt the entire network, had a 16 site network around the world that was being run by me. It was kind of crazy. Like even today's standards, one person should not be doing all of that work. But we made it work. And after that, I moved into publishing, which gave me the chance to get back into design a little bit, helping out there with production work whenever possible. And I think at some point, I just didn't really know what I wanted to do with myself anymore, because between that and owning a design studio and the clothing company and the confectionery and everything else that I've done, I make the best marshmallows. There's just no argument about that. I took a break from everything. And one day I got an email from Valiant's CEO, and it was the weirdest thing because the title was just, "Are you alive?" Like they hadn't heard from me in a while, because I was a client of Valiant's back as far as 2011 or 2012. So I've had a long standing relationship with them. And it was just like, yeah, I'm here. I'm just, trying to figure out what I want to do next. And 4 or 5 weeks later, I'm their senior developer. A year after that, I pivoted into marketing because I kind of saw the need for them to help to improve their communications and their branding and who they are. Because I think that it's an amazing team of people. I mean, they're like family. I don't like using the term family because you don't get to choose your family, but we all choose to work together. It's a very different thing, but they are very much like family, and I want to see everyone do well, and I want to be a part of it. And that's how I pushed myself into the marketing side. And it wasn't an easy switch. There were many days where I'd walk into our CIO's office and she'd be like, "Dude, I don't want to do this anymore. Just put me back in front of a machine. Let me just go back to like managing the HIPAA compliant environments. I want to get back into compliance and workflows and have very predictable outcomes to work on. This is too much." And they were just like, "No, man, you got this. Just push through." And it all clicks after a little while. And that's how I got to this. And I'm assuming you have a similar journey of some sort, Jimmy.
Yeah, it actually very, very similar. I came to Scout sort of wanting to work in the SOC. I love the Debian mug, by the way. I came in Scout wanting to work in the SOC, and sort of I met Aiden Kehoe, our CEO, and he was like, "I want to hire you, but I don't want to hire you in a technical role. I want you to come in on the sales and marketing side." And he put me in sales for a couple months because he said, and I'm so grateful for this. He says that he thinks if someone's going to go in marketing, they should go in sales first, so they understand how difficult it is. And sales is very, very difficult.
Oh, it is.
I think everyone underestimates how difficult it is. And then, I ended up in marketing and sort of running the marketing team, building out our channel team and everything. And yeah, it's been a ride. But, something I've noticed about you that you have sort of a higher, like, let's just be real here. We have a lot of technical people in the MSP industry. Sometimes the details of the work are more focused on the technical aspect than, the aesthetic or the copy of things. But you are someone who holds a much higher standard, to the point where when I'm seeing your work, it stands out in such a way that it looks like a New York City branding agency had created it. Like it has that look and feel to it, not like something that was just whipped up right away. So how do you is that something that you're consciously doing, like holding yourself to that standard? Or is it just sort of the quality of your work, and how do you keep it at such a high quality as you do new things like, this new group that we'll talk about in a little bit? And hope that question makes some sense.
Oh.
I sort of went off.
Yeah, it does. It does. I think that there's a certain level of attention to detail that came into just being around two artistic parents my entire life. It comes down to the point where I was probably 6 years old and I knew the difference between a spread and point collar for a shirt. Like when you start looking at details that finally you start just realizing what you can do to refine and kind of give something a little bit more of a varnish. I may be delivering content that's exactly the same as someone else, but maybe it's got a little something extra going on, and it's because of that. And also when working in publishing, you're working in fashion magazines. I worked at Latina magazine for like 5 or 6 years, and you see the faces that are on the cover. You want to make sure everything looks good. I'll never forget the 2008 issue where we had Jessica Alba on the cover, and they released the brand new branding for it, and it won the issue won an award from the Society of Publication Designers, I think it was. And while I was really just managing infrastructure and maybe saying, "Hey, this is cool, that's really neat," you get a sense of investment, and you want to make sure that everything you do from that point on is that or better. There's a Japanese proverb someplace, and I'm not going to even try and remember it. It came probably from the Book of Five Rings or something like that, where it's just like, don't stress what you're doing right now. Just make sure whatever your next step is better than the previous one. And I think that that's something I try to live and breathe every day as much as possible.
Wow, I love that. So one thing I did want to talk about today is copy, reboot, delete. It's new to the MSP world. It's something that you've recently launched. I'm part of the sort of like beta online Slack community, if we'll call it that. And it's been great. Really, really good engagement. Really enjoy it. So could you tell us a little bit about why you sort of started it and what your goals are and some things that you're doing there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting, I think it's a couple of things that came together at the same time. Back in 2019, Valiant's website ended up on a list that Ninja RMM put together of like the best MSP websites of the year. And that's how I got to know Jonathan Crow over there. And Jonathan's a great dude. I mean, like seriously, he's probably one of my closest friends within the channel. And him and I, we scrutinize each other's work. We look at things that other people are doing inside or outside of the industry. I mean, him and I talked like 45 minutes on a commercial for Wingstop. Like what did chicken wings have to do with IT? Nothing, but we were looking at the way they were communicating. But we have those kinds of conversations a lot. And that led to us, talking about putting together a quick web show about looking at other people's work and helping them improve. And that led to conversations with MSP owners all over the country, all over the world, and realizing that there are just simple things that I think that we can help people with that will really drive them to make decisions and give them the confidence they need to execute some of their own marketing plans and realize that not everything has to be perfect. It doesn't, but you have to do something. You can't just sit here and wonder why things aren't changing for you. And I think that, I love giving back to the community. I've worked in other industries. Like I said, publishing is the one I came from into the MSP world. And it's a different world. The sense of community is not the same. And it was kind of crazy to be embraced by so many people at the same time. I met Jonathan, and like 2 weeks later, there's like 40 people in a Slack with me just chatting about what's going on in life, what we're doing in business. And having those connections and seeing them have challenges makes me want to help them find solutions. Now, that doesn't mean that I will do the work for them by any means. I'll give you the ingredients, but you're going to have to bake that cake yourself. But, once you have the ingredients and you have a general idea of your recipe, you're going to have the confidence to get in there and make it happen. And I think that's what we're seeing in a lot of places with a lot of MSPs right now. It's exciting. But anyway, things have kind of changed organically based on what people are looking to have, what we're trying to answer. So it went from the idea of being like this quick hit marketing show to being a real community where people can interact on a regular basis and have monthly hour-long show, do shorter videos, talk about the history of the industry, where it came from. I'll say this now, and I know I was going to try and keep it quiet, but we are going to do a roundtable, and it's going to have people that are in MSPs today. It's going to have you, Jimmy, even though I didn't really ask yet. It's going to have you in it. And we're going to have people that have been doing this work since the mid 1980s. They're going to be able to tell us why we got to where we are now. And then we'll be able to have the conversation on where we're going to be next based on the demand of our customers and their needs. And I think that's cool, because I don't think, I've always been a person that kind of gets something done and moves on to whatever's next. And it's going to be a nice change to be able to kind of look back and understand why we're all here. And I think that's going to help us create a much more impactful vision for where we need to be as time goes on.
Yeah, that's something that we've definitely talked about at Scout that we admire about you and some other people in the channel. Like the MSP community as a whole is very, very good at sharing and collaborating, and it's not really viewed as much as like, oh, they're my competitors, I don't want to help them out at all. It's like, let's succeed together. Yeah. And I think you sort of take that to the next level where you want to be involved in those conversations. And I consider the things that Valiant is doing as thought leaders in the industry, and I highly commend you guys for that. And then, but yeah, I think, we'd like to wrap this thing up quick. We don't want it to go on, turn to a webinar. So we're hitting our 15-minute point. But before we go, Lloyd had some comments in the chat. He's got some opinions that he wants to throw out there. So I'll give him the spotlight real quick. What's going on, Lloyd?
Testing, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, so I've seen some things online, especially lately, it's very interesting debate because some things say, well, gee, marketers, are really need to be good in sales because they need to focus on the individual prospects, et cetera, and for other reasons. And salespeople naturally should be good marketers. So it's the blurred line, right? The blurred line between marketing and sales. I just want to explore that a little bit, just to throw something out there to say, okay, what's more important? If you had to choose one, let's say, marketing or sales, because marketing is the roadmap to get you where you want to go, shoving content and a call to action, but sales is taking that action and allowing someone to be a customer. But there's a blurred line. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, and we're over time, so I'll just throw a quick opinion. I think you need both. I think marketing's job is to make sales easy, and I think that they should be tightly aligned. And the farther that we move into the future of demand gen and marketing and stuff, sales and marketing are,
Yeah,
together.
exactly. I would say that in general, a business is a system, and so is the human body. And the question's almost like, would you rather not have a lung or rather not have a heart? They all need to be there. They need to work in sync. They need to complement each other. And that's how we function.
All right. Well, maybe that's a conversation for a future coffee chat.
Absolutely.
Definitely. We're going to wrap it up here. Thanks again, Matthew, for joining, and everyone else for joining as well. Great chat this week. We'll be back 10 a.m. next Friday.
Talk to you guys soon. Have a great weekend.